Webflow's been making a lot of changes these last few years and some very exciting features. Sometimes a relatively small feature change is pushed out, which has a substantial impact on our workflow processes and on how we use the designer. So I want to talk about one of those in particular, which was pushed out in late 2024, which is the CMS item specific editing. This little green indicator here that indicates published state is sort of the center of the universe now when it comes to editing any kind of CMS content on the Canvas editor. We're going to talk about what's changed. I'm going to talk about why it has such a great potential to improve our publishing workflows and our content creation workflows. And I want to talk about how I'm managing this right now. I feel like the UX for this new feature is a little bit unpolished and needs some refinement. Webflow team is watching closely on these changes. I do have chats with support and a few of the engineers all the time about these features and how they're evolving. And they're aware that people are still grappling with the challenges around them. But it is very usable now if you are aware of what to look for and aware of what's happening, and aware, most importantly, of how this new world is different from what it was 6 months ago. So let's have a look at this change. Right now you can see I'm in the designer and I am on a CMS template page. You can tell that because this is purple here. This is the page selector now in the top center of the page. Right now I'm recording this at the very end of 2024. And if I were to choose a different page, like this about page here, you can see that this is white. This indicates that this is a static page, not a collection template page. So I'm going to go back to my collection. Now, as you're used to, any change that you make to the site, whether it is styling or element layouts or content, changing a piece of content, the way to make this change live would be to go to the publish menu and publish the entire site, and now it becomes live to the public. That used to be the case for CMS items as well. If I made a CMS item change like this, it used to be that for this to become live, I would publish the entire site. That has changed. What has changed? There are two key things that has changed. Anytime I change CMS content, that CMS item goes into a draft changes state. What this means is that the system still recognizes the previously published version of this content, of this CMS item content, as the officially published version. And the changes that I've made to it have not yet been released by the system in order for the public to see them. So I've made a change to the content. I can see this draft changes state here. If I were to publish the site, the full site, this change is not going to be included. And that's because it sees the previous version without this text change here, this one that I've added. It sees that as the current version of the content that is ready for publishing. In order for me to make this item publishable, and I'm going to undo this, I actually need to click here and tell it whether I want it to publish right now, this individual item, or whether I want to queue it for publishing so that the next time the entire site is published, it is considered to be, this new version of the content is considered to be part of the live content to be published all at once. I'm going to do publish now. So this is one of the great features. So it used to be I'm editing a blog article, or I'm writing a news article, or I'm modifying a content page, or a team member page, or any kind of CMS content. And it used to be when I do that, I publish the entire site, which takes a couple of seconds. And it means that any other part of the site that is being worked on is going to get published as well. If someone's working on the about page, then guess what? That's going to get published. Well, this new feature gives us a lot more flexibility and a lot more control. I can now make a change to the CMS content and choose when that is published and publish it separately from the rest of the changes on the site. And that gives me just so much versatility. Now, The big advantage to this in the workflow is it means that the Webflow designer itself now has a kind of editorial control built in a very simplistic kind of way, and that allows me to build the content and write the content in the editor itself. Even if I am just a customer mid-2025 that has designer editor mode access, which Webflow is switching everybody to, this is what I'm going to see. I can now make content changes, and when I'm ready, when this article is ready, I can publish it. Before that, I can just keep working on it or keep modifying it until I am ready to publish it. And that gives me a huge amount of freedom. Any of the content that is part of the CMS is going to be put into draft changes until I publish it. Now, this is where things get confusing. The content that is put into draft changes is only the CMS content itself. So if I look, for example, at this individual CMS item, these fields, name, slug, the photos, the images, rich text, whatever I have stored in the CMS for this item, that is the content that is set to draft changes. And here I can choose this will save it to draft changes, or this would publish it now. I can do that here as well. If I edit anything on this page that is not bound to the CMS, even though this is a CMS template page, then that is a site level change, and that needs to be published with the entire site. Now that creates some weird scenarios. I could edit this content, and I could edit this content. If I do a publish now, this content is going to publish. You can see it's got a purple border because this item is bound to the CMS item. This is the name of the CMS item. This piece here, you can see as a blue border, it is a static item. And this static item is part of the template itself and therefore part of the site content. So it creates a disconnect. And this is where people are getting often very confused about what's happening. So here's the process that I use. Anytime I'm working on content in the CMS on any purple page here, I use the on-canvas editor and I use the pop-up editor depending on whether I'm uploading photos or managing a photo gallery or editing content. And this gives me this is a lovely way to manage and access and edit my content. I really like it. When I'm ready to publish it, I need to be aware of what I have changed. Have I changed CMS content only? Have I changed static content? Now, normally I probably wouldn't have it this way where I have this as static content. Have I changed styling? What if I've done something like this? What if I've changed this to, which do I want? I'll go for that, pineapple brown. This change is, again, a styling change. So it is a change to the template itself. It is a change to the site design. I need to know this distinction because I need to know whether I'm wanting to publish the CMS item or whether I'm wanting to publish the site's HTML content and design and content change, static content changes, because that's going to determine which of these I need to do. Now you can see straight away, Webflow's got this excellent indicator right here that tells me straight away there are draft changes to publish, which means to me, if I see this content here and I know that this is ready to go and I want this to go live, the first thing I'm probably going to do is just say publish that CMS item so that it is now in production. If I have also made changes to styling or static content or the element arrangement, and I'm ready to publish the entire site because I want to pick up that as well, I'm also going to publish from the publishing menu the way we always have in the past. So it becomes a two-step process. And for me, as a workflow process, I work on the content of the page. My eyes immediately travel upward to remind myself, am I on a collection page? Am I working with CMS content? What's happening? Have I changed anything in the CMS? And straight away, I'll see this indicator here. So I look here first. If I'm on a static page, there's nothing to see. There's not going to be any indicator on the status of the CMS item. If I'm on any kind of CMS page, I'm going to see this. And most of the time, the only thing I need to do is publish that now when I'm ready, and then everything is done. If I've made additional changes, and I need to keep track of this, if I've made additional changes to styling, static content, added new elements to my layout, and so on, those are not going to get picked up by an individual CMS item change, because remember, it's picking up only this content that gets picked up and published. This is the CMS item. This is the CMS template. They're different things, and they're different things in Webflow's eyes. They need to be different things in our mental model of the publishing workflow. And in that case, I can publish the entire site. If you're really unsure and you're building very simple sites where you're really not taking advantage of this, the easy way to do it is to simply look up front, make sure that this is published, and then go ahead and just publish the site the way you always have in the past. That's going to be the closest to the old process and the old way of publishing the site. But I do encourage you to take advantage of this new capability. The fact that new items are automatically considered draft items, and the fact that changes to items are automatically put into a draft changes state is something that is very, very helpful. It's something that a lot of other platforms have had for a very long time, so that you can have so you are given some time to work on your content and finalize it and have another pair of eyes on it, have someone else spell check it, have the marketing team or the legal team review it. That's an excellent capability. And the fact that we now have that space to operate in with our CMS content changes is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I really like this. I do hope that somehow the little kinks around the publishing process in terms of how this can be better communicated to users, I do hope that will improve in some way. But overall, I'm very pleased with the feature. I really like what it allows, and I hope you can take advantage of it too.